I've guided families to Pittsburgh from Austin, Chicago, the Carolinas, even Bay Area engineers that swore they'd never leave, all because they wanted the same thing in 2026. A home they won't outgrow, a payment that won't keep them up at night, and a neighborhood that actually fits how they live. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to get that in Pittsburgh this year, where interest rates are headed, what neighborhoods in Pittsburgh actually still offer value, and the precise steps my most successful clients take to make sure they don't overpay or they don't wind up in the wrong area. If you're planning a move to Pittsburgh here in the near future, you're not going to want to miss this video because this is going to give you everything you need to know about the changes coming to Pittsburgh and how that's going to affect anyone moving in 2026. And here's the picture. A couple that had a hybrid work setup, so that looked like 2 days downtown, 1 day in Oakland, and the rest remote. Spent over 6 months clicking around online on Zillow, Realtor.com, and some random websites looking at properties in areas. They were convinced they'd eventually stumble into the right house. And by the time they actually called me, their favorite community has sold out of its last new construction lot. And the deal in the second suburb they were considering ended up having surprise school taxes that they did not budget for. They didn't need more listings. They needed a sequence: rate reality, tax reality, commute reality, and neighborhoods that match how they actually live and not just a pretty photo online. And 2026 offers a completely different market than what we've been seeing. After a choppy couple of years, the 30-year fixed rate has actually taken a pullback. Freddie Mac's weekly survey had it in the low 6% in September, the lowest in nearly a year. That shift is already nudging buyers off of the sidelines, which means the best priced and best located properties move the fastest. And at the same time, Pittsburgh remains relatively affordable, especially versus big metros. The city's median sales price hovered around the mid 200,000s still at this point. And of course, it's dependent on neighborhood and condition. So when the right inventory appears, you need to be ready, not reactive. So we're going to talk about the 2026 rate reality, how to structure a payment you could live with now and plan to refinance later, the neighborhood framework that you will actually use, walkable city cores, the T in the South Hills, convenience driven in the North Hills, and value plays east and west. We'll also be discussing a tax and commute check that saved you from the right house but wrong carrying cost mistake, and a 60-day relocation plan that gets you from scouting to closing without overpaying. Think of moving as literally putting down roots. You want to plant in soil that matches your needs, budget, commute, and daily routine. And everything will end up growing. But if you plant in the wrong soil, you'll pour time and money into fixing problems that could have been avoided with a better map. So first, let's start with the housing and interest rates. As of mid-September, our interest rates are sitting in the lower 6%. And we are actually expecting additional Fed cuts here in the next week. So if we could get rates down to the low 6s, high 5s, we are definitely going to see an increase in demand here in Pittsburgh, especially being that so many of our buyers are on the sidelines waiting for these rate drops, along with the sellers on the sidelines are waiting for rate drops so that they could sell their property and get into something comparable or even better, because nobody wants to sell a property and get into something worse. So a lot of people have held on to their properties, chosen to renovate, chosen to wait, or they've even cashed out due to the market and are renting and waiting to buy whenever rates come down. And with that being said, national supply has been rebuilding. And locally, Pittsburgh pricing remains modest compared to other cities in the US. Recent medians suggest around $233,000 to $260,000 average here in Pittsburgh. But the most livable pockets still go fast and for more money. So if you want something move-in ready, realistically, I would say around $3 to $450 is a better range, especially if you're looking in neighborhoods with top school districts, great access, and great amenities. And we work with some of the best lenders in the entire region, and what they usually suggest is to have some tactics going into it. They like to call it a rate guardrail. So set a rate guardrail, meaning the highest rate where the monthly payment still works. And lock in your payment when you're comfortable and you have more insight on the foreseeable future. And pre-decide your refinance trigger. For example, a drop that could save $200 a month without extending the term could be a good example. Overall, in 2026, you need to be connected to the right lenders, which we could help you with. We help people with every single day. And you want to have numbers in mind, not only for where you want to lock at, where you could refinance, and the highest rate you're willing to go. Because although rates are unpredictable and not in our control, we see a lot of positivity with the recent rate drops and forward-looking rate drops here by the Fed, which could easily put us within that 5 range, which would do a drastic change on the market and would give us a lot more supply, but also a lot more demand, making it a more balanced and healthy market. But it's not all about the interest rates. The wrong suburb could turn a great price into a painful carry if your taxes or commute don't match your life. And Allegheny property taxes, they are a layered stack. County, municipality, and school. And those millage rates vary widely place by place, where even 5 minutes away could be drastically different in your mortgage payment just due to those taxes. And two very similar houses for the same prices could carry extremely different annual taxes. And what we could help with is running tax estimates, telling you what the current taxes are, how likely they are to actually increase over time, especially being reassessed depending on the last sale of the property. If you rebuy it, you could get hit with a reassessment. But this is what we help people with every single day, is moving from all over the world here into Pittsburgh. We don't just help you purchase a home, although that's a big part of it, but what we help you with is narrowing down the right neighborhoods, exactly your plan, and just having that one-on-one conversation, getting you a custom relocation plan set up for not only what areas could be a fit, but school districts, getting you connected with lenders, inspectors, contractors, everyone you need here in Pittsburgh. We are your go-to source if you are thinking of moving to Pittsburgh. So feel free to reach out anytime. Our contact information is down in the description below, always up here on the screen, and we absolutely love hearing from you guys. So let's talk about how people choose where to live. You have your city and walkable cores, which has culture, quick urban access, and hospitals. Shadyside, Squirrel Hill, and Highland Park are probably 3 areas you've came across if you're looking anywhere next to tech, walkability, universities, and hospitals. You have beautiful tree-lined streets, amazing architecture, some large lots, actually good parking, driveways, garages, lots of street room, and actually parks within these areas, including the Pittsburgh Zoo. Cafes, quick access to groceries, extremely walkable, great public transportation, quick access to UPMC, to CMU, and something to keep in mind with these areas is that the premium blocks and properties move extremely fast. And older homes here might require more sharp inspections, which we have great inspectors who have experience actually working with homes that are over 100 years old, which is extremely important because there are certain things you want to keep in mind for these old homes, like lead-based paint, radon, sewer lines. And then you also have the north side pockets of the city, especially the Mexican War Streets. This is known for its historic charm, its stadiums, museums, and what I want to tell you here is street by street comparables are everything. A lot varies street by street in the north side, and that's why you need a trusted professional to help you dictate what area and property could actually work based on your priorities. Because sometimes if you think you're getting something that you're not, you're going to overpay for it when maybe people wouldn't even move into that block to begin with. So it's really important to know street by street what areas, especially looking into the city, it could be a complete mixture. So you really want to understand, you have to look not from a macro, but more from a micro perspective here. And speaking of the city, you also have Mount Washington. You have skyline views, the incline access to downtown, which is super unique, and values are pretty block specific here as well. I would walk walk around, spend good time in Mount Washington before deciding on the area you want to be at, but anywhere close to Grandview Avenue, giving you access to the shops, Shiloh Street, and more of that walkability, fun, urban, and lively style is probably where you want to be. Now to touch more on the South Hills and the T-Line. Mount Lebanon offers true village style living. You have Washington and Beverly Road, which are fun business districts, and it's really cool to have that in a suburb as they're usually in the city, and not many suburbs have walkability or fun business district. You have sidewalks, you have great transit, not only the T-Line, but also public transportation. And here you really pay for convenience, community, great architecture, great access to mom and pop shops, but also the Galleria Mall, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, access to South Hills Village, and so many great, well-kept parks and the schools. Where in Dormont, Castle Shannon, and Bethel Park, yes, you're still close to Mount Lebanon, but it's going to be more budget friendly, access to the T-Line still, highly rated schools still, classic brick homes, really excellent for any hybrid commuter as some of these commutes are within 15 minutes to the city, and more of a suburban feel compared to Mount Lebanon, except for Dormont. That's another area where you have your own business district. It's walkable and feels very urban for a suburb. And then if you go up to the North Hills, this is more suburban convenience, larger lots, great access into the city, and newer construction. You have McCandless, Franklin Park, all encompassing the Wexford area, and Pine Richland. These are going to be newer builds with established streets, rolling hills, definitely some prestige in there. North Park, which is the county's largest park, and Ross Park Mall access. Quick to I-79 and 279. Very car forward, but everything is still close. And I would definitely keep in mind budget taxes first in these areas because they do vary, especially if you're in that North Allegheny School District, which is one of the top in the state. You're going to have higher taxes in some of these sections, always dependent. You have Pine Richland, Hampton, Allison Park, all of these areas vary pretty widely in taxes. So go tax first in this area, then determine the budget. And if you want more value plays, you could always consider Penn Trafford, Murraysville, and Monroeville. These are in the east, and North Huntington is also one that you should definitely consider in there. If you're looking for great schools, lower taxes, quieter, more land, new construction options, but also pretty solid resales, and pretty straight shot into the city. The only thing you have to worry about is that Squirrel Hill Tunnel, but these are phenomenal value plays that many people overlook until they actually visit. They see the nature, they see the feel of it, they see the value of the property prices and the taxes, and they are sold. And you could also check out the west areas more near the airport, Robinson, Moon, and South Fayette. These are going to offer lots of shopping, new construction, Robinson Town Center, the airport, and great parkway access. It's excellent for frequent flyers and anyone who's splitting commutes, because although it does get pretty backed up getting into the city with the tunnel traffic, there are a lot of commercial districts and businesses in the west that, depending on where you work, it could be super convenient. And speaking back to taxes, because they do determine a lot, taxes could really change your monthly payment more than you would expect. For example, in Mount Lebanon, the 2025 published millages for the municipality, it's 4.5. The school district is 30.95, and the county is 6.43. This mix can add up fast, where other suburbs can be much lower on the municipal and school side. And if transit is important to you, the T-Line in the South Hills is pretty much second to none. It actually is second to none because it's the only suburb that offers this. It could drastically cut down parking expenses, rush hour stress, and just your daily life. People love the T-Line and taking that into downtown, especially if you're someone that likes to go to sports games often and doesn't always want to drive. The T-Line is a wonderful asset to have in the South Hills. It's why a lot of commuters actually choose to live in the South Hills, not only for the character, the walkability, the charm, and the amenities, but that T-Line is a huge dictator. And we have a lot of investors who actually invest in the South Hills because they plan to rent to commuters, and it works out perfectly every time, especially with the value you could get in some of these neighborhoods. And speaking of investors investing in properties to renters, sometimes renting first yourself does make sense. sense. If you're changing rules, uncertain about micro markets, or really like to take your time before you start your home shopping journey, we've had plenty of people rent for around 6 months, even a short-term rental with an Airbnb, or sign a lease up to a year with no penalty if they back out early. This allows them to learn the patterns of the areas, their daily life, and also keep an eye on interest rates. And especially if it's your first time in Pittsburgh, never a bad idea, and we could always help with recommendation. But we will say that buying now usually makes sense for our clients. If the right house appears, they've had enough time to explore the areas, they truly know what they're looking for, and the payment works at today's rates, it's better to take action compared to miss out, because the market's unexpected. With rates coming down, that drives more demand, more competition, and raises prices up. So if there's a good deal, right now is actually kind of a silent time in the market to be able to get properties under asking price and be able to actually be one of the only bidders on a house compared to 10 other offers where you're going $30,000 to $50,000 over asking price in some scenarios. That way you're stepping in with equity, with more time. You don't have to rush into it. You could get inspections, go through the normal processes, actually have some leverage when it comes to negotiations compared to only the seller having the leverage. And waiting purely for a headline number often costs more in missed houses than you gain a quarter point later. And speaking of all of that competition, well, when there's tons of competition for resale properties, people don't want to bid against multiple people. What do? They take a look at new construction options, and that's what we've helped so many buyers with just in the past few years. And what's great about new construction is, of course, it's your own property. You get to make your own adjustments, build it from the ground up, and choose the colors, choose the floor plans, choose everything about your own property, which is such a special moment. But also what's great is a lot of these builders offer incentives, which could look like a rate buy down, which could look like closing costs paid for, which could look like additional items thrown into the property itself. Spec homes and quick move-ins do exist, but they do require some speed, and it's been very helpful with a lot of our clients who are moving from out of town, are on tight timelines, want new construction, but need to get in as soon as possible. We have great relationships with all of these builders and are able to send you properties that are spec homes, move-in ready, that you might not even know about, public might not even know about, just because we have great connections and we know whenever there's inventory available in what community and how soon you can move in, when it'll be ready, what incentives and what price point you could get, because a lot of times you could get a great deal on a spec home compared to building from the ground up, especially if that builder rep is moving on to a different community and they want to get it off their hands pretty fast. And we could compare builder buy downs versus cash credit plus shop and outside rate to make sure that the incentive actually lowers your lifetime cost, not just the sales sheet. So if I were moving to Pittsburgh in 2026, this is the exact relocation plan that I would follow. Week 1, you want to finance and fit. You want to get a pre-approval with a PA specific lender, as they know our taxes, our laws, and our regulations better than everyone, and local lenders could often work closer to you with the process. Although we've worked with national banks, we've worked with so many banks and have had great experiences, even if they're not here in PA. But there's something about a local lender that feels a little more personable, that feels like they're more on top of the process and just understand things a little bit better to make the process go a little bit smoother. I would run payments at different interest rates, the highest case scenario, what they're currently at, and a little bit lower. That way you could understand ability to refinance, what that would look like. Also, worst case scenario, if some reason rates went up, you could understand if you're comfortable with that rate, that payment, and what your absolute cap would be. And of course, we will talk before this. Like I said, reach out anytime. We'll give you the greatest contacts, the greatest plan, help you dictate what areas are going to be the best, as that's always first. And then we can give that lender this information so they could actually tax out these different areas, the differences, and what areas would be ideal based on your monthly scenario versus what areas might be out of the picture. Week 2 and 3, I would plan a visit here to Pittsburgh. Once you have that pre-approval, I would scope these areas out in person, which we help give you a self-guided tour. That way you could check South Hills versus the North Hills, actually walk in these areas, go to the nearby grocery stores, go to the nearby parks, drive the neighborhoods that are within your budget. That way you could actually experience the lifestyle and what you'd be doing every day and not just the tourist attractions. If you're considering builders, this is when we would set up builder appointments and actually see these communities in person, compare the quality between these properties along with quality between the lot, where it lays, and location again, because location, absolutely everything. Next, I would get into touring resale properties, or if you're only considering resale, this is where that would come in. After you've nailed down the areas, understand where you want to live, understand the payments, then it's time to start touring. You'll have your tax estimate, understanding insurance, utilities, and just what the true costs of these properties will be. And make sure your offer terms have emphasis on inspection contingencies, mortgage contingencies, an appraisal game plan, and a lock-in window for that rate. Depending on how the market is, if we're thinking 2026, lower rates, we're going to see more demand. So it comes into making your offer strategic depending on who you're competing against. And there's many ways we could add different clauses in there that still leave you protected with inspections, but could also have the sellers more favorable to accept your offer versus the competition without having to go way over asking price. After you've locked down a property, you've went through inspections, and you are moving forward, then it's time to, number one, switch the utilities before closing. Of course, contact your movers, your school, and your health registration, and a 30-day punch list of items needing done, needing moved, and needing cleared before closing and moving here to Pittsburgh. So if Pittsburgh is on your list for 2026, there are many things to keep in mind: the changing market, the areas that actually still provide value, the market conditions and what that means for you getting your offer accepted, and just a true understanding of the areas you'll be moving to, but also the house itself and what comes with home ownership here in Pittsburgh. And this is what we love to walk people through every single day. We've helped hundreds of people find the right areas for them, make the move here to Pittsburgh. And actually my family's been in construction, investing, and roofing here for over 30 years. So we have a complete understanding on not only the relocation process, but also construction, improvements, value, and how to maybe get something that you could add value to and resell later, knowing that you have that equity in there. So there are so many things we love to talk about when it comes to Pittsburgh real estate, where the market's going, pinpointing you to the right area based on your exact needs. And that's why we love our one-on-one conversations so that we could get started. So make sure to reach out, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email anytime, 24/7. This is what we love to do, and we absolutely love hearing from you guys. Our contact information is down in the description below, always up here on the screen. Feel free to reach out 24/7. And if you're not yet ready to make the move to Pittsburgh, that's exactly why we have this channel. We help you understand the best neighborhoods, the housing market, new construction communities, hidden neighborhoods that you might have not heard of. And that information is all in these next videos. So go ahead and watch this, and we will see you in the next one.